For RCR TV, I'm Joey Jackson. On this edition of Cell Tower News, we're talking tower inspections with Dale Shumaker, VP of Site Design and Implementation at Enertech Resources.
Today's episode is brought to you by Telecom Careers, the #1 global telecom and wireless job board. telecomcareers.net.
For 20 years, NATE has been the undisputed global leader in safety, standards, and education for the wireless and broadcast communications infrastructure industries.
All right, welcome back to Cell Tower News, where we talk about the backbone of the wireless world. Before we get into the heart of the show and talk tower inspections with Dale Shumaker of Enertech Resources, let's check in with Jared Matula, writer of the Cell Tower Wrap on rcrwireless.com, to see what's new in the tower industry. What's up, Jared?
Thanks, Joey. There's been another death in the tower industry, this time in Pennsylvania. 37-year-old Matthew Vance fell 90 feet to his death while working on a communication tower with 5 other technicians. The circumstances are still unknown at this point. According to Wireless Estimator, Vance worked in the tower industry for more than a dozen years. It is still unconfirmed what company he was working for at that time, though it is known that the tower was off of Route 80 and Rag Valley Road, where there was an antenna structure owned by Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania State Police, Rivcom, and Verizon. This is just the latest in a string of recent tower fatalities involving civilians, workers, and workers on the job but off-site. In other tower news, a couple is wreaking havoc on the tower industry with a string of thefts. The Cincinnati area couple is responsible for what is being called millions of dollars in losses to mobile carriers as well as service disruption. According to police, Rachel and Michael Cowan stole more than $45,000 in batteries from 6 towers before they fled the area. The couple, originally from Gilbert, Arizona, are also responsible for cell tower thefts in North Dakota and Minnesota. The crimes in the Cincinnati area were perpetrated between late last year and the beginning of April and affected T-Mobile, Sprint, and Cincinnati Bell. One of the incidents was so destructive that it caused a power surge, disabling an Indiana mobile network for 7 hours. Now, this is a story that has all kinds of twists and turns and details, so definitely check out my Cell Tower News Wrap for more information on this to learn about how there was an across-state chase, there were tracking devices, shaking off tracking devices, and all sorts of details you don't want to miss. So check that out on rcrwireless.com. Back to you, Joey.
All right, thanks for that, Jared. So now let's talk tower inspections. I'm joined by Dale Shumaker of Enertech Resources. So Dale, let's start by getting a brief overview of Enertech and your role in the company.
Enertech is a turnkey design and construction firm. We do construction work throughout Texas. We have 4 offices. And we work both within the public safety space and in the cellular world in the private sector.
All right, very good, Dale. Next, can you just take me through the inspection process? What are the steps that you go through?
Yeah, the inspection process follows the ANSI TIA 222G code, which sets out the process for inspecting the towers. The things that are typically inspected are the structure and the condition, the finish, the lighting, the grounding, antennas and lines, guy wires, and the foundations of the tower. Additionally, it sets out the intervals at which towers should be inspected. Guy wires or guy towers are typically 3 years maximum interval of inspection, and for self-supporting structures, it recommends 5 years. If they're critical towers like Class 3 or they're in corrosive environments, it might be more frequent than that.
And Dale, what are some key industry standards that relate to tower inspections?
Yeah, I mean, largely in our industry, it's you know, the code I mentioned before, the ANSI TIA 222G code. Other things would apply, different welding codes and you know, concrete codes as applicable.
And Dale, I know you're working on a pretty cool project here in Austin, the Moonlight Towers. What can you tell me about that project?
That's a really interesting project that we're proud to work on. We're actually inspecting and restoring the oldest towers that there are in the U.S. or maybe even a broader region as well. They're the Moonlight Towers. They're some of the original towers that electricity was first seen on in a public area in this part of the world. And they consist of 17 towers. They're about 150 foot tall, and they're guide structures. They're kind of uniquely guide to go at the corners of street intersections. So they're a three-sided tower, triangular guide tower, but they have 4 guy wires. And they're all made of green sand-casted iron, and so you can't get that stuff anymore. And so it's and the way they're put together is, you know, with sockets and kind of star member pieces. So they're a unique type of construction.
And Dale, as towers that are already in the field begin to lose their usefulness and new equipment comes into play with 5G, how does that impact audits and inspections?
Well, I mean, basically it just ramps up the need for the audits and inspections. Some of the customers and tower owners that we deal with do a fantastic job of that. I'm proud to say that. But there are others, maybe smaller or just for various reasons that the assets, the towers are really at the end of their life, and they really need closer attention paid to the maintenance and condition of the towers. Obviously, putting more loading on it with 5G and even the LTE stuff that has largely been put on already, it begins to highlight the weaknesses in the structure, if there are any. So it is really important that the structures be looked at thoroughly, and that they have the proper structural analysis to make sure they're structurally capable, as well as maintenance-wise they're in good condition. And then the appropriate steps be taken to ensure that the structure is safe for the equipment that's going on.
Okay, finally, Dale, is there any other projects you're working on that you want to talk about?
Well, you mentioned the Moonlight Towers, and that's a neat historic project, but we work on all of the current cellular build-outs and some of the public safety ones as well. We're doing some large towers on the coast. Interestingly enough, those towers are going in because of maintenance issues on the existing towers that are along the Texas coast that have brought the towers to their end of their life, and they need to be replaced.
All right, Dale Shumaker of Enertech, it was a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for sharing your insights. So to close the show, I usually like to do an upbeat note with pictures from Tower Climber Facebook groups. But this week I saw something far more important. John Richardson was electrocuted last week while working on a tower in Indiana. He survived but suffered major internal and external burns. Obviously it's going to be a long healing process, and his wife Elena needs all the help she can get. A GoFundMe campaign was started in their honor to help the couple pay for some of the costs associated with John's injuries. So I want to get the word out. The name of the GoFundMe page is We Love You, John and Elena. Please donate if you can. So far they've raised about $8,000 of their $40,000 goal, so they need all the help they can get. So that's it for me. As always, please stay safe out there. See you next week.
Cell Tower News is a production of RCR TV. To reach Joey Jackson or suggest a show topic for Cell Tower News, contact him at jjackson@rcrwireless.com or on Twitter @duck_Jackson. For more Cell Tower News, please visit rcrwireless.com.